Oh,
Disaster.
Too
We
bad.
haven't even started this one and it's already a disaster.
The movie or the podcast?
Huh?
All of it.
Yeah.
All right. Malcolm and Marie, it just released on Netflix last week. This is Zendaya, John David Washington, and Sam Levinson, who did Euphoria with Zendaya's new movie. It is about a filmmaker and his girlfriend who return home from his movie premiere. And basically they fight for an hour and 45 minutes, and let's talk about it.
So we talked about this. This movie would have been pretty good if it had stopped like half an hour in, 35 minutes in, and then just been done. It would have been like, that was a pretty good short film. That was cool.
So that was from Brian Tallarico that said that, from Roger Ebert. He said the first 25 minutes is like a good short film.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm not trying to steal it from him. I just remember thinking that. But yes, you did tell me that.
But after that first 25 minutes, the next hour and 20 minutes are just repetitiveness of that first 25 minutes. And that's not even the worst part of the movie. Oh God, who wants to talk about it?
I'll start and try to be not really mean. I like hated this movie. This is one of the movies I've like hated most in recent memory. I think just about every single aspect of it I hated, except Zendaya's performance. She was pretty good, and she's just, she's amazing. But yeah, it was like a whiny, like just monologue using John David Washington as a mouthpiece for the writer to just like
the white writer
just bitch at critics, and he's using like the guise of like racial tensions right now to like try to make this okay and like be like, oh, this is about this. No, it's like, that's not okay. It's a white guy using a black guy to like comment on racial tensions using his own voice as a mouthpiece. It's like super weird. It's just not good. Like,
it's just
you would think with it's pretentious in like the worst way possible too, because it's really shallow. It's like they did the black and white and you're like, oh, okay, that's gonna mean something. But that's about it. It was like, oh, it's black and white because it's like, oh, it's contrasting black and white of these two characters, that type of thing. It's not like a deep commentary on it. It's just it's basically just a flare.
I think he was trying to comment on stuff because the whole movie is about how John David Washington's character is kind of talking about how being a black director is politicized versus if a white director would do it. And I think that maybe they were hinting at something like that with a black and white being literally the only two colors in the film. I don't know.
But that's exactly what I mean. That's all it is. It's black and white, so it can be commentary on black and white. Like that's nothing. That is not commentary. That's just black and white,
Yeah.
It to me, it's stuff like that. It's like first year film student bullshit. It's just bullshit just the whole time. The dialogue is bullshit.
It's awful.
The messaging is bullshit. A lot of the acting isn't even that good in a lot of it. There were a few good parts with like the camera work. The cinematography was pretty decent in some parts. Like I remember it started off with like a really great long shot, and I was into that. I was like, oh, this is a really nice shot, and it just kept going and going and going. But I hated the other aspects of it so much that it didn't. I couldn't even enjoy stuff like that in it because the other stuff was dragging it down so hard. It was just so whiny. I have never witnessed like a more just whiny, just bitching dialogue that is so obviously directed at someone in real life. Like this writer is like using this to just have a free like almost 2 hour just bitch fest at a critic or something. It's ridiculous. It's insane.
Yeah, it is. So
I love the part where John David Washington's character is talking about the review for his film and about how stupid reviewers. I'm paraphrasing by a lot, but anyway, basically the point it boils down to is if you give a bad review, it's because you don't understand the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking so is that what he's trying to say about if you don't like this movie, you don't get it.
That
you
He's
don't
trying to
is
wash his
what he
hands of
said.
critics. He's trying to become untouchable, which he is
Right.
not. So my mom taught me, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. So I'm going to say 4 nice things about this movie really quickly before I tear into it. Zendaya is incredible. She should get every part. I don't care how bad this movie is. She was great the whole time. She has her reactions, just to things like when she's not speaking and just the look in her eye or the cock of her head or something when somebody's talking. I know what she's thinking, and she's great. It's beautiful. Like you said, it's shot really well. And it looks incredible the whole time. The score is awesome. I loved the music.
Oh yeah, it is. The
Yeah,
music
that's
is great.
And
the house it's shot in is amazing.
Real House, yeah. Oh, and yeah, it wasn't in Malibu though. It was somewhere else. Maybe it was in Malibu, but
Yeah, it's Malibu.
no. But I know the movie takes place in Malibu. I'm talking about the house.
Oh.
I looked it up. I just can't remember. But also, it was shot during COVID, and so they wanted to make a movie together. They quarantined together, and I respect them for making a movie during COVID and making an artsy film during COVID. It just happened to be one that was god awful. All right, so I've said nice things. So Sam Levinson is throwing a fit this entire movie, right? Sam Levinson,
very obviously.
It's a movie about privilege, and it's commenting on privilege from privilege itself, because he is a white male director, right, who is Barry Levinson's son. So he already comes from Hollywood royalty. Barry Levinson directed Rain Man, Wag the Dog, Good Morning Vietnam, all these big movies before. So
Vietnam.
Sorry. But God, I was so mad watching this film, and I was just sitting there smiling because I was angry. Because first of all, good films don't exist without criticism. We wouldn't have the movies that we have today if people didn't learn from the mistakes they made in the past. So Sam Levinson's last film was Assassination Nation. I enjoyed it. It was fine, whatever. That's not the point. But let's talk about what he does in this movie. He insults the white bitch from the LA Times. That's what he says. I'm quoting.
Yep.
And they
A
say
lot.
that
He says that a lot.
So the white bitch from the LA Times is one of my favorite film critics, and her name is Katie Walsh. So she kind of criticized him for, he literally talks about what she criticized him for in the movie, the comments on the male gaze and privilege and all that stuff. And he's throwing a tantrum for an hour and 40 minutes, and it's miserable to watch. I love acting, and I love watching actors, and I can watch actors in a bad movie. I loved watching Glenn Close and Hillbilly Elegy. I just like people doing their thing. And I want to love all actors except for James Woods, because he can go himself. But everyone else I want to and I just cannot stand John David Washington, and I in anything. And I'm this movie, it looked like it was made for me. I love pretentious films if they're done well. But this just shows how little range he has, because he's just screaming the whole time. And when he's exhausted, he's just breathing hard, he just ran a mile, and there's just nothing. And what in the hell did he do to that mac and cheese?
Oh, that was so weird. That was so weird.
So I didn't mind John David Washington a ton. He definitely didn't have an amazing performance, but I think it was also compared to Zendaya that it looked particularly, off. But I thought he was okay. I didn't think it was super bad. I thought he had some parts that were not very good, but overall he was okay. A lot of my problems come with absolutely hating these two people. I hate these people, and I just wanted to stop him, just be shut the up, shut the up. You are the worst, most annoying person I have ever heard. Just stop talking.
So I don't know about you guys, but for me, so the whole movie, it kind of goes back and forth between she's ripping into him and then he's ripping into her. It's a fight, but it kind of cycles back and forth between him kind of being the one leading it, her kind of, and every time it would cycle, I'd be like, okay, so I hate her character more. And then he would come in and I'd be like, nope, I hate his character. And it just kept going back and forth all the way through the movie.
I think I always liked her more, mostly because I just like Zendaya and I think she's a good actress. But also, like, her argument's valid. Like at the beginning, like, it's a small thing. It starts off as kind of a small thing, but like, I see her point of view. I don't see his. He called her a emotional support dog. Like, I have no sympathy for him and I hate him. He's abusive, and the whole question, their whole fight doesn't even get resolved. Like, that's the last thing that's brought up right before the movie ends.
I hated both of them, but I hate him particularly because he is so obviously a mouthpiece for the writer that is all I could think about, and it was so poorly written that it was painfully obvious sitting there listening to what he's saying. Like, this is the writer just bitching, and that is all I could think about anytime he would open his mouth, is how that all this is him bitching, and that's it, because it was written so poorly. It was really bad. Horrible dialogue.
Yeah.
This movie is basically, when you get mad at someone.
This is exactly it. This is
exactly
exactly
what I was
about
about
to
and you're
say.
like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote that. And then you throw it away. He took that and went, let's make this a movie.
That I 100% agree. It's like the fake argument that you have in your head that you will never ever say out loud because it's so dumb. This guy wrote it and put it into an hour and 40-minute movie and had two of the most well-known actors act it out. Like, it's bad.
And people are going, like, critics specifically are going to be afraid to attack this movie because of the points that it makes, because they are going to be afraid that, I'm trying to word this correctly, they're going to be afraid to criticize what it's saying in the movie. It brings up interesting points, right? And they're points that should be explored, I think, but in different ways. Like, even if I don't agree with the points it's bringing up, they are interesting enough to be explored, but not in the way that he explores them by throwing a fit and just yelling about it.
So it's basically, this movie is basically his hissy fit buffered with sexism, racism in Hollywood and stuff like that, like buffered around it so you can't be like, well, this movie's terrible.
Right.
And I feel like he wrote that stuff in there
of importance. Like,
right. I feel like he wrote that stuff in there as like, well, if you say you don't like this movie, it's because you're racist or sexist or whatever. Even though
you don't get it.
You just don't get, like, you don't understand. You're an idiot. You don't understand it. When in reality, it's just not a good movie.
Yeah, we get it. It just sucks.
Yeah. So, all right, let's do scores.
I've turned red. I'm getting angry.
So I didn't even want to give this a score because I didn't want to give it 0, because it has some merit, although small, but it took me a long time to even give this a score because I was like, I hate this so much. I don't even want to give it a percentage score. I ended up giving it a 20, but that, honestly, even looking back now, 20 feels like it's too high. I think I would maybe go 15, but we'll just go with 20. We'll go with 20. It's fine.
I went with 45, and a lot of that is just technical stuff, like
Yep.
the camera work and some of the cool shots and stuff like that has nothing to do with the story.
Logan changed the score just to be lower than me.
I did not.
Yep. You bitch.
Well, if yours is higher than his, yours should be lower.
Mine is
trash,
but it's just because he cheated. My number is a 48, so they're basically the same. So our number is a 38.
Too high.
This movie is on Netflix for free. Don't watch it.
Don't recommend it.
The only saving grace about it is Zendaya, and there's
watch like we said, watch like the first 20 minutes and then turn it off.
Well, don't even do that. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
It literally goes nowhere after that. So
yeah, it's no resolution. It's
just watch Euphoria instead.
Agreed.
2-hour hissy fit.
This movie, I wanted to like it so much because I love Zendaya and I like Euphoria. So I thought they were going to do something great together, and they didn't.
And I love pretentious movies. Like, I love A24. Like, Midsummer is one of my favorite movies ever. Like, I love pretentious shit. and I
Say
hate
A24.
this. Yeah, A24. That's how all of the people who are in the know say it.
In the know of
And on that note, we're going to end this episode. Bye.